Marky Worthington Podcast all day.
All day.
Dream by night.
Don't buy me a drink. Just give me $10.
Oh, dude, you look sweet. Yeah, you got a big beard, dude.
Go down to the strip club with your floppy disk and turn it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. Thrown out by Big Tony.
We're here to name names and make people feel more ashamed for shit that they're not proud of.
Me and my best friend, Marky Worthington.
Whatever it is.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Marky Worthington Comedy Podcast. This is episode 105. It's a callback episode to the first time I ever had Fahey on the show. So there's some dates at the end which I left in because it's like a good reminder of what time it was. It was just before he opened the Boardwalk for its first ever gig, and it was the notorious Boardwalk room that opened in town. So it was just before that, which is cool. And it was also at the same time that White Rabbit was running, which no longer runs in town, but it was a good stamp in time. Also cool to know that after this episode we had multiple episodes together. So this is the beginning of having Kai on the podcast, which has been really cool. The video doesn't start until 3 minutes into the actual podcast, but there is a video for this one. So if you haven't seen the video for this one, head over to the YouTube channel, Marky Comedy, to see the actual unreleased video side of this episode. This was first recorded on the 9th of September 2019 and released on the 8th of October 2019. So let's get into it. Enjoy. Cheers.
Callback episode.
A good callback.
Yeah, we're joined here with Kai Fahey at the basement, kicking off the next episode of the Marky Worthington Podcast. Good to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, man, no problem. Thanks for having me.
We've been kicking a few mics around town. We'll get into some dates later on in the show, man, but it's cool to catch up here at the venue that we have a mic and be able to record this.
Yeah, it's a good space. I like it out the back here.
Yeah. That's like now with like Phoenix not running mics or anything at the moment. There's it's good to have a spot with a stage on it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of the mics run around town actually don't have stages, do they? They're just sort of in back rooms and corner of bars. Or
I love that, man. Like, I'd hate to have just all stages. You need to mix it up a little bit. But, yeah, man, it's good to have one with lighting and stuff. I know that sometimes at Smith's, people are like, oh, lighting always gets them on the back foot straight away.
Yeah.
So it's good to be able to have that experience before you actually go on a big stage and, like, see what it's like.
And you can't see the audience. Like, what's going on? You feel very alone up there with the big bright lights in your face, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite at that point yet. I've done I did the open for Bill Makin's thing in the last comedy festival.
Yeah.
So that's cool having like an audience and things like that aside from just a mic or like Civic Pub. I've had a couple there that have been like sold out acts there. But what's it like performing on those bigger stages and getting like the
Oh, dude, it's pretty like. It can be pretty surreal, man. I think the largest audience I've ever performed in front of is 600-700 people, man. We're talking. I've done the Forum Theatre. I mean, that was only a 5-minute bit.
Yeah.
But that is that's a venue, dude.
How early on was that, man?
So I did the Forum this year as part of Deadly Funny. Yep. But my very first time on stage, believe it or not, man, my very first time on stage was in front of 450 people on the downstairs town hall.
Yep.
We're talking like my first time on stage, man. Forever.
Yeah.
So I walked out and just
not even mics or anything before that, or
nah. This is straight up first time ever. I got like wild carded into the grand final for Deadly Funny.
Yep.
I don't know how it happened. It was just one of those like weird series of events and I just met the right people at the right time, and I went to some workshops and like did some stuff. And next thing you know, I'm standing on stage in front of 400 or 500 people just doing it. And it's it's in a weird way. It's like it's easier and harder than doing the intimate rooms. Like I like the intimate rooms, but the intimate rooms you can see the people, like they're a lot closer to you. And in a massive room, you're almost always going to get a laugh.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone that's laughing, and laughter's infectious. So in that aspect, even though it's really daunting to be standing in front of that many people, you get much better feedback. Whereas
it's
in
encouraging,
the intimate rooms, you can get crickets.
Yeah.
But in our forum, man, that was monstrous, and that was probably my favourite big venue. And I actually almost collapsed when I got off stage, man. It was really? That much adrenaline pumping through my body that I just like going down the stairs into the green room. I just kind of had to hold onto the handrail for a second and be like, wow, like that was like, you know, big time stuff. Like,
that's like addictive too, just getting that feeling of, I know that like I spoke about it when I had Bill on the show. He was the MC for the first open mic I ever did. And at Smith's, and the second I put my second foot on the ground after I got off the stage, I wanted to just get back on there.
It's like crack. It's one of the best. You know, it is an addictive feeling. You know, you live and die on the stage, and even when you die, I don't know, for some reason you still want to come back because you're chasing the dragon. You're chasing that big laugh. Like, the
good thing is though, like, I'm not chasing the first time I ever did it. It gets better and better. It's one of those. It's one of those, like, just when you think you've had like a really good set, you'll hit one that'll nail it even harder. Yeah,
and so you got to grow. Just keep growing as a performer.
I remember. So I've been doing comedy for 2 years in November, and
congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Actually, I think that the Irish Club open mic is scheduled like for the exact 2 year anniversary. So it'd be cool to do it on stage.
Make a thing of it, yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like the first time you ever get a proper laugh, it just hits you like, wow, like you'll be starting to move on to the next bit. And you're like, oh, hang on, I'll wait a bit for everyone to finish up, laughing. And I've never had that before. You know, you just nail a joke.
You've had that bit where you're sort of waiting for someone to laugh. You're like, oh, crap. But
it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. It is. It's a good feeling, though. Like, you know, when you realise. And that's good, man, that you're already at that level where you're starting to be present enough on stage that you can go, hold on, they're still laughing.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you for a second. And,
sometimes I balls it up. Like, I'll be kind of so set on what I want to say next. That I'll kind of just burn into the next bit and not give it a second to air.
10 years, man, I still do that all the time. Hey? It's like everyone's biggest complaint. You talk too fast. Shut up. Let people like absorb what you're saying. So just hitting them, 1,000 miles an hour.
It's like I just say, oh well, I don't care if you're laughing or not. I've got more stuff to talk about. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep going whether you're laughing or not.
Yeah.
Because it's already planned out. Like, all right, can you guys shut up for a second? I've only got 5 minutes and I've got a lot of shit to get through.
Well, that's actually the hardest thing, man, because when it is like only 5 minutes and you got that sort of set in your head, I think that's where a lot of us develop that, because it's not an ability, it's almost a weakness where you're just pumping through because you're like, I got 5 minutes to impress you, and I'm going to try and impress you as much as I can
and set an impression,
and so you sort of smash through it, you're like, yeah, shut up, I've got something else funny, that's not even funny yet, I'm building up to the funny. So
I got 5 minutes to get everybody here to like my Facebook page.
This is just one big advertisement. Buy Coca-Cola. That's it.
Actually, Martin had that bit where he'd advertise stuff that didn't exist. That's like a pretty funny concept.
He does well, actually. I like that.
Man, he's so
stuff.
Creative. All of his things, they're so left of field that I just wouldn't see that of coming. And then I got to, because the first time I ever seen Martin, I only ever knew him from the stage. I didn't talk to him as much off the stage. I like to get to know people's personalities as well as their stand-up, because a lot of people have two different personalities. They have an on stage. They might be different from in person. I try to keep pretty much the same both ways. I might be a little bit more like outgoing and
so when you're being an arsehole on stage, you're actually an arsehole in life. That's what
dude, if I'm being an arsehole on stage, I'm dialing it back. But yeah, so that, some people change it up a little bit and have different, or they might have different on stage personalities. I know that if I'm delivering different material, might be more confident with it. If it's new material, I'm kind of more not as behind it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I mean, you'll get there though, man. Like I think like my on stage persona is obviously much cockier than like I am in real life. Obviously, as you said, it's sort of that amplified version of myself. I take that the bit that, you know, the part of me that sometimes realises that maybe I'm okay on the eyes, you know, maybe I'm vaguely good looking, and I just like, that's me. Or like when I'm on stage, like I'm that guy. I have to be good looking, you know, whatever. You know, I probably look like shit most of the time because I'm always tired. But yeah, you grab onto that little bit of yourself, and you like you push that part of yourself through.
It's weird, man. Like I've jumped onto open mics after I've done things like moved house, gone to the gym, done like workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just think that, man, I'm that screwed. I'm that tired. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Do anything, but I'll just go. And if I can get a spot, I'll get up. And you get off stage, and you're like, how did I just give that? Last bit of energy.
Yeah, sometimes it's weird. You find that little pocket inside, and you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's like the same. It's like the same as the dessert stomach, but just for energy.
The dessert stage. It's like, oh, I've still got a little stage time left.
Just
in me.
A little adrenaline,
just a little one, you know. I'll have the cream. Come on, put the cream on top. Yeah, a little dessert time. So.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's like there's also been a good progression in the amount of comedy available in Canberra. I know that 2 years ago when I started, there was 3 mics in town. You had Smith's, The Front, and Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that was it. Once a month, you had 3.
3, yeah.
And
like
now there's
3 a week sometimes.
Yeah, so depending on how it works.
Yeah,
and the good thing is none of it really clashes. So, like, it's well sort of planned.
We've done pretty well to not step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
And that's obviously taken a little bit of courtesy from everyone and try and, you know, work around as to, not hinder the other. But I think it's really great that Canberra's finally starting to sort of explode like into that, you know. And I've been trying to push that a little bit because I met this guy from Melbourne pretty much, and, you know, he'd only been doing mics for like 2 years.
Yeah.
But I was talking to him in the last like 8 months. He'd done more gigs than I'd done in the last sort of 3 or 4 years because he's in Melbourne. You can gig every day. And I was like, man, that's just... And that's why I started the boardwalk and stuff. It was like, there has to be more going on. Like, you know, even if there's not the big audiences, you know, we all need stage time to grow. In front of 3 people or 300, you know, we need stage time. So, it's really good. I'm really happy with like sort of the scene is pushing forward, and, you know, hopefully 1 or 2 rooms have closed down recently, but hopefully, you know, other rooms pop up to replace them, because otherwise we'll end up back where we were, like you said, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want that.
Well, the good thing is it kind of peaked and then a few dropped off, and it just left room for everybody to fill the gaps. So it's not like we went from 3 to 5 and now back to 3. It kind of went from like 3 to 8, then back to 5.
Yeah.
And it's still better than it was.
Yeah, there was definitely a massive surge of open mics when Phoenix closed down.
Yeah.
Everyone was trying to grab that spot. It's
good that venues around town are more accommodating for it as well. Like, without the venue being on side, usually it limits your options.
Definitely. And it's good the venue's being realistic too. You get some venues that are like, oh, so we're going to have a comedy night here, you know, so I'm going to have 50, 100 people here. And so, mate, it's probably going to be 10.
Yeah.
You know, probably won't be big, and no, we're not charging for tickets. And,
people are going to bring their friends as well. Maybe you'll get a few extras. There's a fair few comedians rocking up to open mic.
Yeah. I think it's just another place for comedians to heckle each other and drink, you know.
Oh, dude, like the feedback amongst each other, you're like, dude, I like that bit where this happened. That's good. Actually, I think that I get as much out of that as I do on the stage, like, because you're getting both levels of feedback. You're getting the audience feedback, and then if you hang around and chat to other comedians that might have catch your set, they're like, oh, I like this bit, or, yo, you should do a callback into that. Yeah, and just like, I guess getting just more feedback from multiple people, even if it's good, bad, whatever. If you don't take any of it, just, you know.
I say any publicity is good publicity, man, as they say. So.
Well, the same with feedback, man. Yeah. Like someone might tell you something that you don't take it all in.
Yeah.
But you pick up on little bits.
Yeah.
Also, you might subconsciously, I know that I picked up on, and I told Taylor this, with timing the delivery.
Yeah.
We were saying before about rushing the set. Well, he has a few bits that he needs to pause to build suspense.
Yeah.
And I subconsciously picked up on that. And after a while of listening back to my sets, I'm like, wonder what I'm doing differently that makes that same joke I told 4 months ago hit harder now.
Yeah.
And when you put them side to side, you're like, yeah, that one there, I left the time in there to let it air.
Oh, dude, I'm the same. Like, I got a joke I've been telling for years.
Yeah.
And I've been telling it the same way. And then it was only a couple of months ago, someone went, dude, you just need to put a pause there.
Right there.
And just hold it for like 10 seconds and then say the last word.
Yep.
And now it's turned into a joke. It's got like a double punchline.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like I say the joke and then I just hold that last word off and people are laughing and then I give them that last word. I mean, that joke, man, it took like 6 years before anyone actually pulled me up on it. Going, you could actually get an extra laugh if you just
split that.
Yeah, held that single word for the end and just
yeah.
held it off for a little bit longer. So
yes,
definitely timing is a massive part. I mean, the whole just stage presence, really. I mean, I tell people there are lots of funnier people than me in the world, man, but they don't have the ability to get up and talk in front of a crowd, you know.
Yeah.
So stage presence and timing is probably, you know, easily 60% of it.
Yep.
You know, not just being funny.
It's funny when you see people that are like in the group, they're good at telling stories. They'll get everyone's attention, just build it up, and then they don't get that same level of response or confidence on stage.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know you've got it. You just need to do the same thing. Like, sometimes I've heard a technique of just, I'm telling this story to that person.
Yeah.
And I'm telling this story to my mate who came to watch me.
Yeah.
And although he's probably heard it 4 bloody times, and then once
that's
that
what girlfriends are good for.
Yeah, well,
because I always come.
the good thing is I kind of get on stage so that my mates don't have to cop how much I test material. Like, if I can get on stage, my mates will be like, "Oh, this is so much better because he's trying his material on the right people," instead of just like, yeah, fair enough, stories and stuff.
I'm so sick of talking to this guy.
This
like,
dude
is this a bit?
Yeah.
Is this a bit?
Shut up. I was talking about this with Bill when in the early episode, and it's funny when you're talking to a guy that you know is a comedian and he's trying to bid on you.
Yeah.
It's even funnier when he doesn't know you're also a comedian.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like hanging back, like just waiting for it. And you're like, yeah, man.
Just let it roll. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're doing here. You know?
I've even done criticism, like people that I've worked with in radio that like, they haven't done comedy, but they want to try it out. So they'll be telling me a story, but with the same energy as you would on stage.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like chatting face to face. You're like, all right, man, yeah, like that's good. But
you gotta try some other stuff.
But like, yeah, that's good. Do that on stage. But when you're trying it on me, dial it down a little bit because you'll burn yourself out. You'll get sick of telling it by the time you get on stage.
I love when you meet people who think they're like, who aren't actually funny, but they think they are. And I think like they're like I've had it like when I started working at like a new job or something, and you know, some guy will be like, oh, yeah, you know, we're all comedians here. And I'll be like, oh, really? Haven't seen you in any of the rooms, mate. Like, who are you again? Like, and I'll try and tell you a joke. And you're like, yeah, that's, you know, I'm the funny one here. Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, they'll tell you something, some like recycled joke.
Nowhere the lie, man. Hey, this, like when I started, I've been at my job now 2 years, but when I started there and they found out I was a comedian, one of the guys came up to me, old school fella, nowhere the lie. He's like, oh, yeah, you're a comedian, are you? Yeah, I used to do a bit of stand-up back in the day. And I'm like, oh, yeah, really? He goes, yeah, man, yeah. You know, I'll give you a joke. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I fucking hate people saying, I'll give you a joke. But, well, yeah, you know.
I'll give you one.
And he turns and goes, yeah, it's windier than here than in a bean eaters convention or something. I'm like, you serious, dude? And he's just like, yeah. And then he told me some like Aboriginal joke and stuff. I'm like, man, you have not been to a comedy night in a long time,
man.
You know, this is not 1980s bloody pop comedy,
and
you're
work
supporting
Deadly Funny 2003,
and you're supporting ostentatious. You know, that would not. No, I'm not using that, dude.
It was like Pryor's warm up act.
Oh, dude, he was so proud of himself too. He just thought, you know, so I just,
you get a few people that come along to mics that say they used to do it a while ago. There's been a couple in the past 12 months. I know at least 3 mics I've been to where someone's rocked up that, oh man, I used to do it ages ago and now I'm back into it. It's interesting to hear the dynamic of jokes and how they've changed over the years.
Yeah,
even just the last 5 years.
Comedy is definitely, is changed. Some of it for good, some of it for worse, but it's definitely changed. So you get these sort of older sort of style comics, and
My wife.
but I even had one of Mike, and same thing. Just got up and started doing like literally joke book jokes.
Yeah.
And they got to the 5 minutes, and I'm like waving him off, and he's like, "Oh, you want me to finish?" I'm like, "Dude, definitely."
Yeah, like 5 minutes ago.
Finish 5 minutes ago. The moment you said your first sentence, I was like, "Oh, really? Knock, knock." Like, no way.
Just pull out the dad's joke book from the back pocket and start tearing them out.
Oh, dude, seriously, it was that bad. Hey, like this, So, I actually got a knock knock joke book the other day. Or one of the kids brought one home.
Yeah,
so I'm trying out these knock knock jokes.
That's good, man. I tell you what's funny, actually. Sometimes you'll get influences like you'll read a joke.
Yeah.
And then you might think, oh, I know how to make that better. Or you'll like adapt it to a current situation.
Yeah.
And like without knowing, you could actually be getting good material from terrible jokes.
Oh, the old school, I actually miss some of the old school joke book jokes. Like,
yeah.
I've actually got a few favourites, man. I remember like growing up, watching Hey, and they used to have like Australia's greatest joke and stuff. Yeah. Some of those jokes were gold.
Yeah.
They're fully like, I'm like, man, I wish I, but I don't know, I guess it doesn't really fit my style of comedy, but
yep.
Like some of them were pretty good actually, and you do. And I remember one time I was pretty like high on sleep deprivation. I only slept like 2 hours at like 48, and I like literally knocked off work, flown to Melbourne, saw Rob Williams live.
Oh, really?
Been out all night drinking. Flew back to like. Been out all night drinking, slept 2 hours, got up, kept drinking, then I flew back to Canberra, and then I went straight to an open mic. I know where I man. I literally said, just flew from Melbourne, boy, my arm's tired, like that. And I got a laugh, would you? It was like, I think it was a laugh of disbelief, like, it's kind of real. But I was just like, so like, wired from like like Rob Williams, man, seeing him live is definitely a highlight of, And, he obviously sadly passed away, sort of a year later, but. Yeah, seeing him live was definitely a massive highlight. But,
that's insane, man.
Yeah, in the right circumstance and if told properly, man, you can bring back a joke book joke. Why not?
Yeah,
get amongst it.
Like a filler.
Yeah, just a filler. Yeah,
Yeah, I dig that. I like how some of the local comedians have added fillers into their sets.
Yeah,
a lot of story comedians will add like a filler between their jokes.
Yeah,
and I like that dynamic because sometimes. I got a couple of filler bits that were whole bits, and I boiled them down to what was important, and now it's a good filler as opposed to a so-so bit. Yeah,
I mean, I got sort of 2 sentence jokes, which I chop and change and interchange between bits because if I can make those 2 sentences adapt to the next bit that I'm telling. It's an extra laugh that you're getting in there, and it gives you an extra 10 seconds of time and. Yeah, you'll definitely. If you boil them down, like you said, boil them down. Eventually end up with lots of. I got 4 or 5 of them. I just chop and change them between bits. Yeah. Especially if I'm trying a new bit and it's not working, and I'm like, oh crap. Oh wait, I can put that little bit in here. And I know I'll get keep them on track at least while I try and work out how the rest of it's going to go.
Yeah, remind them that you're still funny.
Yeah, exactly. I am funny. I'm not just
here. I'll prove it in 2 sentences.
I'll prove it. Anyway, back to my shit story.
It's like an interlude. You mentioned before that you've been doing comedy for you've had jokes that have been running for a while. How long have you been doing comedy for, man?
Technically, I stepped on stage for the first time in 2008.
Yep.
So that's like 11 years, but I've had a few like sabbaticals. Like we're talking like a year, 2 years off.
Yep.
I pretty much didn't perform from 2012 to 2014 sort of thing, and so I've had a few. So I like to think of myself as like a 5th level comedian, like a 5th year comedian.
Yeah.
Even though technically I've been doing it for like 11 years. I just consider myself a 5th level or 5th year comedian. So getting to that stage. So, maybe another 5 years of like at the moment I've been performing constantly for, sort of 2.5, 3 years. Like
solid,
when I got back into the game. So, hopefully another 5 years and I might make it, might make it big eventually. But yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's been a good ride. Like I started out pretty big. I said walked out on stage, deadly funny, and then got a few big gigs after that. Then I got an acting gig, and we in 2009.
What was that for?
So it was for the Hepatitis Council of Australia.
Yep.
And we're doing a comedy based on hepatitis C. And it was like educational as well as, entertaining. And we travelled around to prisons, high schools and community groups, man. I did like 10 weeks on the road.
Yeah.
Just like 3 weeks in WA, 3 weeks in New South Wales, 4 weeks in Victoria. Like visiting all the prisons. And just performing for like prisoners and stuff like that. It was pretty hectic. And
dude, that's insane. Do you reckon... is there a dynamic shift in the audience when you compared to like a prison crowd to like a normal one? Is there different punch lines?
No, I mean the high school crowds are way more dangerous, I thought.
Yeah,
but no, I mean it's a little bit of a different dynamic. Obviously, people are adults laugh at different things than what the kids would laugh at. So there were bits the kids would laugh and the adults wouldn't laugh. Especially with the prisoners, man. Some of it hit really close to home, actually.
Yeah,
I actually had a few people walk out because it was just like...
Too much.
It was like just too personal, too
Yeah.
close to their story.
Real life sort of thing. Yeah,
so... But no, I mean, there's definitely different night, but I also think, like, teenagers in high schools, man, they were bored. They're like, what the fuck are these teachers making us watch?
Yeah.
Whereas obviously prisoners, man, they don't get much entertainment going on. So like, oh, sweet. Like, they were
Comedy,
a lot more supportive and just a lot happier to be doing something to break up the monotony of, working in the workshops or something like that. So,
yeah, man.
pretty interesting experience, actually, like going around prisons and, seeing the difference between prison farms and, maximum security, minimum security and, it's pretty crazy what's going on there. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy, and also to be introduced to that early on in the game.
Yeah. It was definitely a real eye-opening and not even for me as a personal growth experience.
Yep.
Like, it was definitely one of the biggest sort of personal journeys in my life where I really felt like I grew as a person and learnt a few things. That's actually why I got this tattoo on my arm. He's named after the main character in the play, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
And so
Sick.
Well, I got him after I did it.
Yeah, nice.
It was definitely a really sort of inspiring and sobering sort of experience. And, you get to hear all these stories, and a lot of these guys weren't that much different to me, like I could have easily been where they were and stuff like that. So, yeah, it definitely made me think a lot about like life and things like that. So.
Yeah, dude, I can imagine. I know I follow some of the music art, like I follow a lot of artists that, travel and play schools, prisons, all that stuff. I seen a video of Briggs performing.
Yeah.
Is an Indigenous hip hop artist.
Yeah.
And he played for prisons, played for juvies.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. And yeah, he goes really, really good, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. They always put on a good lunch. So,
yeah.
And most of them are really happy to be. Like, you don't feel like... I think it was only one time, I was ever actually intimidated by one of the prisoners. We were performing to the protection unit. Sometimes we'd do 2 performances to main population and the protection unit. And I just remember, the only time I felt was like this guy who was in protection just sort of sat there in the front seat, like just staring at me, licking his lips. It was like full on licking his lips and stuff, man. I was just like,
that's insane.
I don't even want to know what you're thinking right now. Like, but
I came here to give you an insight into my mind, not try and work out.
But other than that, man, other than that was like, so Briggs, I'm sure he's had, it's a great time, and they're happy to see you, and most of them aren't really dangerous people, well, not my experience. So
yeah, and the thing is too, man, a lot of people just like you said, they're people, they're doing their thing, and they're by that point fairly humbled by
a lot of them,
exactly.
They've lost their liberty, and sort of,
and also they don't get out much. Like you get to see a comedy show, hang out,
man,
kill some time. But what sort of, you mentioned before, first time on stage, massive crowd, no open mics before that. What sort of material did you do?
I obviously just did what I know. I actually have some of my jokes that you still hear.
Yeah.
I've like I bed jokes and I'll bring them back a few years later.
Yeah.
Obviously been doing it, but so I just I started just talking about my name because I obviously got a bit of a strange name, and then I did this bit about my mum. So I just talked about what I know, and then I just finished off this stuff about my daughter, like, because that's kind of all I knew, you know. So, and you know, there was a like kangaroo lasagna chopsticks. Yeah, I told that first time ever, man. And I think to this day, it's one of the best jokes I ever wrote. You know, so I'll bring it out. But yeah, for those of you listening, the joke, you know, goes because I'm Aboriginal, but I was born in Malaysia, and I look like a wog. Do you know how hard it is to eat a kangaroo lasagna with chopsticks? Like, that's probably one of the first, like, literally, man, one of the first jokes I ever wrote.
Man, that pause before the chopsticks.
Well, that's actually the pause.
Is that the pause?
That's the pause,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
That's the actual, that's the pause we're talking about.
Yeah,
because I used to go kangaroo lasagna with chopsticks.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, dude, just
one
hold
pause.
it.
And it does give it a double.
Yeah, it gives it a double punch.
Yeah.
So I just started joking about what I knew. You know, I was only 26, so I was still like young in the head, and I was a young 26 as well. So, but I got reviewed, and I still remember the review. It's probably the only review I've ever actually had.
Yeah.
And that was Fahey was visibly nervous and focused way too much on his unusual first name, but proved to be an engaging presence. So. First time on stage, man. I'll take it.
I got no reviews for my first mic. Actually, I do have a review for my first mic. It was, oh, sorry, bro. I only recorded half of it.
Well, that's better than that was shit. Yeah. Some drunk guy from the back.
Someone told me that it wasn't, my first one wasn't good.
Yeah.
But not until they seen me recently.
Yeah.
So first time I went up, they're like, "Oh man, that was good." And then they hadn't seen me. The next time they seen me was at the comedy festival.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Man, I thought your first time was good, but compared to that, like you get better over time."
Awesome, man. Well, you only want to grow. Like, none of us are really funny our first time. Like,
you kind of need to eat your balls first time.
Dude.
You need to bomb. Like, you need to just be shit to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I even look back upon stuff I did in 2012.
Yeah.
And I thought then I was getting somewhere and I'd become quite good. And then I look back on it now and I'm just like, what a hack. Like, it wasn't even hacky. It was just shit. It just wasn't, you know, the timing was off. The content was, you know, it was on its way to becoming clever. But it was really sort of, you know, I was squeezing as many puns as I could, you know. So it was good wordplay, but...
Yep.
There wasn't really sort of a deeper intelligence behind it. So I look back on it now and I just cringe. Like, but I was almost funny that first time on stage than I was in 2012. But I think a lot of people actually, they start out really good for that first time because they're putting all that sort of new energy into it. And then after like a year or whatever, and I've seen so many comics do it, man, then they just become crap because they lose that. Like
spark.
They lose that spark, and all that comedy that they do the first time for the first is probably an idea because no one or very few people just get up and go, I'm going to try comedy today. A lot of them have been thinking about it. So that's like a year or 2 years worth of jokes that have been slowly brewing in their head. And so like a good wine, you know, it's aged, it's matured. So that's what they start out with. And like, yeah, I'm really good. But then they've got to start producing new stuff. And that's when they eat shit. And that's when so many of them actually give up and go, oh, you know, blah, blah. But if you weather that storm, you weather that storm, that stuff starts, you know, you learn how to be a better brewer essentially, and that stuff that you had starts to ferment, and then like, you know, 2 years down the track, like, then you become like good again. You're like, holy crap, I remember this is...
It's like a second wind.
Yeah, it's like a second wind, yeah.
It's funny how like, when you plateau, when you start bombing, you know you're about to step up the next ramp.
Yeah.
When you go down, you know, or plateau, you know that you're about to go back up again if you keep at it. Yeah, you
got to keep at it. And but so many people just go, oh, nah, you know, it's lost its fun.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the test of, you know, people who are, I guess, meant to be comics and people who are, you know, dipping their foot in but yeah, you're right. When you hit that plateau, if you can weather that storm, that's when you're gonna kick it up to the next level. But you've got to... It's like hitting the wall in a marathon. You know, you just got to force yourself through the wall.
It's funny when people are still pushing through and never had a good time. Like, you got to know when to call it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you got to.
Like, there is a point, or if you aren't doing well, look at maybe why you're not doing well. Don't just keep doing the same shit and wondering why, or not even working. Wondering why. Just keep doing shit and never changing anything, and then thinking you did good.
Yeah, or getting angry at the audience, like, oh, it used to be fun. Yeah, nah.
Man, I've had a set where I got mad at the audience. I've talked already about fucking episode 4, and I'm talking about previous episodes. So there is times where you can do that, like, I think, and get away with it. There is times where you can kind of be like, you know, there's a bunch of hecklers, no one's paying attention. Like, there is a time and place.
There are shit audiences, man. Yeah. Don't let anyone ever tell you that. Oh, it's always on the comedian. Nah, you have shit audiences. But if you got a good audience and then you just say a sucky joke, you can't get angry. You can't get angry.
Don't laugh at your opener. Just spend 4 minutes yelling at the crowd.
But, you know, they're like, Bill Burr's actually got a famous...
Oh, the Philly rant. Man.
The Philly rant.
It's up there.
Exactly, the Philly rant. But he, you know, if you listen to him actually tell his side of the story, he just didn't step out.
I got 7 minutes left.
Fuck you. I'm not going anywhere.
Starts paying out all the sports
What other sports teams do you have? Oh, yeah. Fucking they're shit too.
Yo, I tell you, there's a little bit behind the scenes from that, which is he spoke about it on his podcast.
Yeah.
And what happened was, you know that bit where he's just like, what? Like, looking at the back of the stage, you're like, how about you just let me do my thing? Yeah. One of the guys was saying that, like, basically he was miming to him that what you're doing right now will live forever. Like, this is good shit.
This is gold. This
he was trying to tell him, like, that this is...
Keep going.
Yeah. And it just added to it. Like, when you ever just get in that mindset where you're just like... Everyone's out to get
everyone's
out,
out
and
to
you're
get
just
him.
smashing everyone.
But yeah, like, he went out and did that because obviously, they were just being a shitty audience the whole time. But you have gigs like that. Like, I actually had a gig once at Chisholm Tavern, and I got there and I was going on last. Yeah. And I was like sober, and it's Chisholm Tavern, man. Like, they're drunk. Yeah. They're fucking...
The closer spot can be hairy, isn't it?
But so the 4 comedians before me were all very quiet talking. Like, I'm not naming names, but they're all very quiet talking people. And these guys chewed them up and spat them all out. I'm like,
everyone quit.
This is the worst audience. But I ended up winning because I was just like, you know what? There's only one way I'm going to get through this. And that's to be as drunk as them. So I literally walked up the bar, ordered 6 Jacks and Cokes, just down like 5 of them, picked up the 6th one and went, right, I'm ready. And just went up, and I was just as loud, just as obnoxious as they were. And they lapped it up, man. By the end of it, I ended up doing like 20 minutes. Just like, I don't even remember half of it. It's actually, there is a recording, and I'm like, did I even say that? Like, I don't even know what's going on. But they loved it, and by the end of it, they were like, holy crap, this guy's awesome. But they were just being, they were being a shitty audience. They weren't being respectful, and, you know, but having said that, you know, the community, it's not a quiet comedy crowd. Like, that's, you know, as windy as a Bean Eaters convention. That's just like old school, hardcore pub, you know, angry pub comedy. You know? So, you know, lucky I'd seen enough sort of, I just gave it to them. I was just drunk as they were and gave it to them. So, it was good. It was good. So,
yeah, that's good stuff, man. So we got a few mics around town that we've opened up. We mentioned before that, you know, there was only like 2 years ago, and now there's a few that are getting around. And a lot of those, I think we've got, 3 between us that...
we've got like 3. I'm about to kick off another room. It's not an open mic, but it's a paid gig. But so I'm about to kick off a 3rd. Yeah. So
it's good to have that like uplift as well with and the front coming back as well.
Yeah, the front coming back is absolutely unreal because that's obviously the first place. It was the first place I ever did comedy in Canberra.
Second I ever went. Yeah. Smiths, then front.
Yeah, so the front coming back is unreal. You know, Smiths is a good audience if that's where you want to be. Like, I haven't been out to Smiths for a long time. But if that's what you want, then you go out there.
I think front is probably... Front's my first walkout that I've had.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was funny though. Like, it was one of those walkouts where it was just like legit too real for this person.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're just like, they legit like spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, well, some of this shit really happens, you know? You like, I'm glad you were able to walk out on it because I couldn't. I had to live through it.
Trauma is definitely a good. I've actually tried to draw on some of the trauma but some of it's just too hairy. Like you're trying to draw on it, and people's like, but people half the time don't even believe it. What I'm telling is fucking true.
Yeah.
Like, this shit has happened.
It's a good way to get through stuff, though, right? If they think it's a joke, you can just tell them anyway.
Sometimes it depends on. I mean, I actually went to an open mic once after a really bad date.
Yeah.
And I just slammed this chick. Like, went literally straight from the date to the open mic.
Thing, yeah.
And just slammed this chick for 5 minutes. I felt great afterwards.
Yeah.
And actually ended up, like, it's actually one of my bits now for the Tinder date with the cat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's legit happened, man.
Legit
it's a true story. Yeah.
And,
So I will get me through that moment. But what'd you say back when you had a walkout? Like, is that what you said, or
no? So basically, I just said like, because I addressed it when they walked out.
Yeah.
I said, "What's it? Too real?"
Yeah.
And person was just shaking their head and walking out, and then hung it. You know, the front had the fucking fishbowl window at the front.
Yeah.
It's like a massive glass window. They stayed out the front because you can still hear it out there. And I think I had a second to cool down, and because I was up like second last, I went back out, and I'm like, yeah, what's the deal? And they were just like, yeah, look, it was just
a bit too real.
Yeah, well, not even too real, just like kind of grossed them out. I was basically talking about the difference between girls and guys pissing. Like, if a girl decides to shit mid-piss, she just stays where she is. But a dude's got to do the walk of shame from the urinal to the fucking cubicle.
That's why you just piss sitting down to begin with.
Yeah,
you can just make up your
eliminate the risk.
But you know the one I hate is when you do a shit. And then you stand, like, you wipe yourself and all that, and then you stand up. Then you're like, oh, I need to piss.
Yeah.
So then you got to turn around and, like, face the bowl that you've just shat in. And you can see the
with your pants around your ankles,
your
like
pants
a
around your
fucking
ankles.
5-year-old.
And then you've got to, like, break the surface tension with your urine. So then the smell... So he's like, oh, this is...
Yeah, I end every shit by pissing on my own shit.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, oh, that's...
I feel like that's some,
worst.
that's like some actual problem, though, right?
Oh, yeah, you've got to make a decision.
Yeah.
You know.
And the thing is, too, like, the fall from a standing piss is a lot harder.
Yeah.
So someone knows you've been in there for 10 minutes and now they're hearing piss for the first time.
What's this guy been doing here this whole time? You've been talking to him? Come on, buddy. Kidney stones aren't that bad.
You're shaking it like it owes you money. Pulling out the floss, saying, like, tie a little noose and shit.
I'm going to hurt you if this doesn't happen. You know? Wait till we get home.
Oh, man.
Have you had any other walkouts? Or?
That's been my only one, and it was early on, and I think because I was new, in hindsight, I handled it the best way I could have.
Yeah.
And probably I wouldn't change much if it happened now.
Yeah.
To be honest, man, if it happened now, I'd just be like, that's your bad.
But
I actually checked in with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that a lot of people. The problem is people think that by walking out they're making a big statement.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, do what you want to do. If you want to walk, like, I'm not forcing you to stay here.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff, like, I heard a story about Bill Burr was talking about on his podcast. I'm talking about, like, early days Patrice O'Neill.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'd come out with the most offensive things he could. And then whoever would leave, he'd be like, good, now I can work with this.
Yeah,
like, the crowd that's left, you guys stick around.
Oh, yeah, man. I've seen Daniel Sloss, like, doing stuff, and then, like, you know, the crowd's divided, and he goes, this half of the crowd's actually invited to my solo show. The rest of you can fuck off. Like, you know, because these guys get it. Like, you know, he's just like, nah, not interested. So
yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, dude. Like, you get people all the time that think that they're making a big stance by walking out. Like, no, man. Like, good. If you don't want to be here, leave.
If you don't like, you know, you don't have to like. It's liking comedians is like liking actors or liking operas or something. Like, if you don't,
music, anything.
If you don't like, you know. I'm not a massive fan of country music. Like, it bores the shit out of me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not a massive fan of like death metal either, man. Like the real hardcore stuff, because I can't understand you.
Yeah.
But I love Metallica. I love like some of their early stuff too. I even like Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
But all that other stuff, like, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they're doing they're like Swedish death metal, like black metal.
Yeah.
Nah, doesn't do it for me at all.
Yeah.
You just go, well, that's not for me, and because they don't. Yeah, like you said, they don't give a shit. They're like, well, we're not doing our music for you. We're doing it for the people that enjoy our style of music. So,
yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
I 100% dig that, and I think that the idea of people walking out and whatever. It's kind of got less weight than it used to. Like it's getting to the point now where people are starting to see, especially with more and more specials being on Netflix. It's getting ingrained in society that comedy is probably one of the remaining untouched mediums where people can say and do what they think without. I mean, they're still going to get haters, but there's a little bit more leniency, and I think people are starting to lean back in the right direction.
Well, I think the walkout's starting to lose weight because people just started doing it over like really trivial stuff without any real education. Yeah. Well, like, I mean, I've had a few walkouts in my day,
or even hearing the end of the bit.
Yeah, or even hearing the end of I've had a few walkouts in my day, and but I've also had people come up to me afterwards and like speak to me, and I had one lady actually came up to me. She's like, "Oh, I didn't like this joke. I found it you were being offensive, really disrespectful to women." And I said to her, so you do realise in that joke, I'm the one, like I'm on my, like the joke's enacts a sexual act, but I said you do realise that I'm the one on my knees in that joke, and I'm the one who's in the who's being overpowered.
Yeah. And
she was like, "Oh, what?" I went, yeah. Like I said, that's like I'm doing a role reversal. Yes, I mean obviously that's a very bad thing, and that happens. And this was a joke about my missus, pretty much walking to a bedroom and throwing me on the bed and going, I'm horny, let's do it. I mean, like, oh please,
But they took it as the other way around.
So they thought, okay. And so she's like, I thought you've been really upset, and I was like, no. And so we actually had a good 20-minute conversation, and I said, look, and I don't do any jokes that involve my partner, that don't have my partner's approval.
Yep.
And by the end of it, she's like, okay, well, I get the joke. I'm still not 100% comfortable with, like, I'm still not a massive fan of the joke, but I get now that
where you're coming
from, and I'm glad that your girlfriend is okay with it, like, yada, yada, yada. And so she, we walked away, sort of understanding each other a bit more and sort of, both happy. And, so, yeah, if you can talk to people and stuff but yeah, people walk out way too much about trivial stuff these days, and so it has lost a lot of that weight.
Yeah, if you keep doing something, it loses its momentum, because if you just do it,
you do it willy nilly because you don't like.
If you do it for reasons that aren't justified, then it's the boy that cried wolf.
Yeah,
it's literally.
I think we're living now in a society where it's starting to become that sort of boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
And people are starting to analyse, like, well, why did you actually walk out? I mean, did you actually listen to it all, or, did you? It's like even like Bill Burr, and the walkout line, not the walkout line, but the line of offence is a personal line.
Yeah,
that moves. Like Bill Burr even talks about his new hour that he's producing. He's got like the first time he tried out this lesbian joke, these two lesbians, got stuck right into him, and then they waited outside and blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, they didn't want to talk to me. And, big thing happened. And he goes, so I went back and I just kept doing my jokes because I know I'm a pretty good comic. And then, only 5 nights later, there's two lesbians sitting right at the front row holding hands, wetting themselves laughing.
Yeah.
He goes, so, yeah. I mean, obviously that joke wasn't for those other people, but
yeah, it's
a personal line. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say that, like, I mean, I don't have a lot of pull. I'm a fucking 5'7" white guy with a 12-inch beard.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm glad you said beard. Stop smiling.
I can't, like, I'm not representing anyone. I'm not like, as a white guy, I find that joke offensive. I can't, like...
Well, actually, I think that is the biggest problem, is people think they're representing
And that's
more
the thing.
people
I'm
other
not
than
going to
themselves.
pretend that I'm representing everyone similar to me in appearance.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, or if anything, which it hasn't happened yet, I've been offended by shit material. Like, I've just been like, that's the hackiest fucking crap.
Yeah, that's hacky, yeah.
And I'm offended by that because you're on the same stage as I was on.
Yeah.
And you're bringing everyone that got on that stage
down.
Or whatever. But I've never actually been offended by something. But if I did, I'd be offended on behalf of myself, not behalf of anyone else.
And that's the problem is, people, they think that, if I'm offended and I'm, gay, straight, white, black, whatever, they think they're offended for all gay, straight, white, black.
Yeah.
And then they think, so they got this massive monstrous voice and like, no, you're only offended for you. I mean, I've actually speaking of Daniel Sloss, I actually walked out of Daniel Sloss's show because right after my wife leaving me, he does his entire bit where he's deliberately trying to break people up by explaining why you should break up with your long-term spouse.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And obviously he wasn't the cause of my breakup, but he actually said things.
In hindsight, he was probably right.
Well, no, that's the thing. Like, he actually said things that she had said to me.
Yeah, right.
And
so
it
hit home.
So close to home, dude. I'm not joking, man. I left in tears.
Yeah.
But I didn't ring Daniel Sloss up and go, hey, you need to apologise to me and you need to apologise.
Because my marriage failed.
Yeah, and you need to apologise to all people who have been through a recent breakup.
Yeah.
Because that really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
I just knew that that day I happened to be in that. We're talking like a week after it happened. So I mean, it was a pretty raw wound.
It's a raw thing.
Yeah. I mean, now I could watch it.
Yeah.
I'd probably... It'd still bite a little bit, but I'm not going to well up.
It'd probably bite because it bit before.
It bit so hard then. So
Yeah.
I remember it. Go.
Yeah, man. No, 100%, man. We'll wrap it up with that and shout out our dates and stuff, man. But it's good to have you on the show so far.
Yeah, man. Hopefully you have me back sometime.
Yeah, man.
Like that, man.
Dig to have you on, and I like having repeat guests. I don't feel like we covered off everything. You and I can talk for fucking ages,
we'll
man.
We've had some good lunches,
Yeah, that's it, man. So cheers for coming on, man. We got upcoming dates. So on Wednesday the 9th, we've got a Treehouse open mic in the city from 8.
Yeah.
And then on Thursday you got another one on.
On Thursday, I'm starting a new room. So it's going to be at Boardwalk Bar in Belconnen.
Yep.
And it's based on a format I used to do in Melbourne. So essentially, it's called 15 Minutes of Fame, and you're going to have 4 to 5 acts, and you'll get 15 minutes each, and tickets are $15. So there's tickets at the door, but get along that. So I'm doing it so that local comedians have got a chance to try. We're talking about
a bit longer.
When you've only got 5 minutes, you really so. By giving people 15, you don't have the pressure of a massive long show.
Yep.
But you've got the time to relax and let the audience know you. So
Yep.
anyway, 15 minutes of fame, 4 to 5 acts, 15 minutes, $15. It should be a really good night.
Yeah, sounds wicked, man.
Yeah.
And then on the Friday the 11th at Civic Pub.
Friday the 11th, Civic Pub, doors open 6:30, show from 7 to 8. I have my debut solo hour encore show.
Encore.
Yeah. So the last one went so well that a few people missed it, so decided to bring it back for another round. So
Perfect.
Yeah, 10. How do I describe it? Essentially, I've been doing comedy for 10 years, so it's come see the greatest hits of a man who never had a first album.
That's good, man. 10 years rolled into an hour, man.
Yeah. So
and bet all that material away, which is sick.
Yeah.
And we've as always, we got open mic at the Basement on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. So come along to the next one of those from 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, cheers for having you on the show, and cheers to Young Henrys for hooking up the mic with some beers, and just being rad dudes to help support the scene. So thanks for that, and until next time, man, I'll catch you back here.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you very much.
See you around. Don't buy me a drink. Just name names. Yeah, right.
Big time. You'll get fucking thrown out of the strip club with your floppy disk.
Yeah, you got a big beard, dude.
Shame for shit all day.
Me and my best friend, Marky Worthington.
Keep it simple. Count your money.
That they're not proud of.
Just give me $10.
Hey, right.
Click.
Did you hang up?
No, I just said click.